Hey out there in the void, how are you all doing today? So, Phoebe Rizzo here on day 17, and we are 17, is that right? Yeah, we're still on 17. Losing a little bit of track. Okay, so today Tubi was particularly kind to me, and set me up with one that I have seen many times before and will probably see many times again. So I had to dig around in my movie closet to grab a DVD case to shake about because I own this one also. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one, 1974, directed by Tobe Hooper, and it's a great movie. So, do I need to tell people how good this one is? Do y'all know already? I mean, it's a classic. So, for those of you who don't know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a film about a group of friends on their passing through Texas, trying to find their old I guess like an old family home of theirs. And after arriving, then well on the way they pick up a hitchhiker who seems very off, and after some disturbing behavior and booting him to the road, they get back onto the place that they were looking to get to, only for them to individually wander off and find a nearby house, which does not go well from them when the inhabitants don't care much for visitors. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is very, very, very loosely based on the Wisconsin killer Ed Gein. So this is the second movie this month that Ed Gein has played a factor in. So if Silence of the Lambs comes up soon, well, we'll know what the theme of the month is, huh? Anyway, so what do I say about this one? Well, it's iconic, but a lot of people have kind of a misconception about this one. Considering the title, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, everyone assumes it to be a complete and utter gore fest, which this one really isn't. It's very subdued in the gore department, with the exception of some horribly decayed bodies it shows every so often. There's a blood spray here or there, but it's actually not all that gratuitous. Now, the remake, oh, yeah, that one definitely. Now, that one's very gratuitous. But because of almost all the sequels, I can't recall how bad Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 gets, but all the modern ones are way over the top in terms of blood, gore, and grisliness. The original one left it more to your imagination. They cut away just before something was about to happen, or you just see it from an angle where you couldn't actually see too much, but that just made it more haunting. Particularly some of the early scenes where Leatherface is grabbed and dragged off a young girl or her boyfriend just moments before. It makes it a little bit more chilling to not know exactly. So, and this movie seems to understand that. So, top marks for that. I will say some of the other like gore effects that are shown, like in the decayed bodies, while a little sticky looking, are definitely a bit dated, but not horrendously so. Now, and I will say the dinner party scene at the towards the end, where the one surviving character is pretty much tied to a chair while the others are, while the nightmare family is eating, was uncomfortable in the best way possible, especially when they are trying to have their grandfather come over and hit her on the head. It is a disturbing scene, and things like that really make this film work. How just how off a lot of things just seem. Like when they pick up the hitchhiker, yeah, he already seems like this was a bad idea, and it gets increasingly so. But the entire time, this happy-go-lucky music is playing in the background while it's going on with him, so which is kind of a weird disconnect from the strange and unsettling things the hitchhiker is talking about. So, trying to think of other things to say about this one, because a lot of it is so well known at this point. Gunnar Hansen's portrayal of Leatherface is great, despite him only communicating in a few grunts and moans and whimpers. He really you do get a sense of a character for him, and which is very difficult, but certain actors can really portray that for their things, particularly in the slasher movie genre. Kane Hodder, who I sung the praises of back in my Ed Gein review, he's one of my favorite. He's my favorite Jason, and because of how expressive he was. David Mears does a pretty good job continuing that in the more recent remake, except for Friday the 13th. Some of the Michael Myers actors can get that across, but he's more of a force of nature than a character, so except. But for here, Leatherface has personality. Alright, so the fact that he's running around in either an apron or a suit and tie just makes the mask he's wearing and chainsaw his wielding even more incongruous, which makes it haunting looking. So the film's expertly shot, expertly directed. The characters are likable, though they are very 70s. Oh my. The only other thing that character I didn't care for was the character of Franklin, the wheelchair-bound brother of the main girl, Sally. He gets a bit insufferable, particularly as the movie goes along. But part of me thinks that was kind of intentional because, yeah, he gets some comeuppance, but I think because he was in a wheelchair and otherwise would have been a sympathetic character, making him as abrasive as he was, I think at the time, kind of required to justify killing a man in his position. I mean, it's a little bit different from when Friday the 13th did it for they had a wheelchair-bound person also, but he was already a very strong, capable person. So he was like an athlete in a chair. So, but well, here Franklin is constantly feeling sorry for himself. So and is to some degree sympathetic, at least at the beginning before he begins grating on you, but he kind of escalates as it goes along, and I don't think it's proportional to how he's been. Yeah, he's having a shit day, but I don't know if it warrants his tirade, particularly when they just get to the farmhouse. So, another thing I like, and which is a good attention to detail, is how the clothing interacts in this movie, which is a weird thing to mention, but, like, for this, characters are getting knocked over and falling falling over things, even without being chased, and their clothing's getting ripped and torn and shredded. It behaves very realistically in that regard. Like, when Franklin falls out of his chair and rolls down a hill, completely unrelated to anything slasher movie related, it gets some tears in it. Too many times in horror films, you'll see people jump out windows, land, and be fine. Here, Sally does it, and her shirt gets, like, the back of the shirt rips open as she hits the ground. It isn't anything done for, like, a gratuitous shot or anything, because it's not. It just it helps add to, like, how fragile the characters are. And this one, they really are. They're literally headed into a meat grinder here. So for me, this one's going to be a 5 MacGuffin movie. It's classic, it's iconic, it still holds up, it's still chilling, and some parts of it are still kind of uncomfortable to watch, but it's in the way it's supposed to be. So, easy 5 MacGuffins here. and probably one of the better movies that I'm going to end up seeing this month, unless my luck really keeps up, but we'll see how it goes. See you guys tomorrow.